everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good things. And it's Friday, guys. Congratulations. You made it through to the end of another week. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend ahead of you, filled with relaxation or fun, friends or family, or just some good quiet me time. Whatever it is you guys need, that's what I hope you guys get this week. And now listen, being Friday, normally Robert Meyer Burnett is here to join me, but unfortunately, well, fortunately for him, unfortunately for us, he had some work he had to do on that Netflix series Dota. So he had some work he had to do on that today. So unfortunately, Robert sends his regrets and apologies, but he couldn't be here today. But don't worry, Robert will be back on Monday. And listen, guys, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about here today. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by taking some predetermined topics that we have lined up. And then we're going to go in and take your live comments and questions. How do you get a live comment or question in on the show? Well, it's really easy. Simply go down into the comments, or in the description of this video, I should say, and you'll see a tip link there. Just click on that or enter it in manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. Once you guys get there, you're gonna be able to fill in your comment or question, a tip amount, hit submit, and you're gonna be getting your comment or question on the show if it is appropriate for the show, of course. And of course, you'll be supporting the channel at the same time. And all of us here involved with the John Campea Show, thank you guys very, very much for that support. Okay, guys, without wasting any more time, let's get right into it, shall we? And we're going to start off today with a couple of off the tops. And the first off the top we're going to talk about is this. You know, there has been a lot of movies that have struggled and hit road bumps and delays and some straight out cancellations as a result of course, the global pandemic. One of the films that has really had the crap kicked out of it as a result of the pandemic was Mission Impossible 7. You know, and Tom Cruise and his producing partners have taken a lot of extreme precautions to try to protect it. Of course, there was that incident where Tom Cruise found a couple of people breaking their protocol, their COVID protocol, safety procedures, putting the entire cast and crew at risk and putting the entire production at risk. And of course, he chewed them out. And well, damn right he chewed them out. I don't understand any of you guys who are like, Tom Cruise shouldn't yell at people. We're all precious little princesses. You should never yell at us. It hurts my sense of self-worth. Damn right. They endanger the lives of the crew and the cast and the entire production of hundreds of millions of dollars, and Tom Cruise yelled at them for doing it. Damn right he yelled at them, and damn right he should have. He should have fired them on the spot, but he didn't. He's a much more patient man than I would have been. Anyway, getting into all that. So anyway, guess what, guys? Mission Impossible 7 has been shut down again. Coming to us from IndieWire with the headline that Paramount has shut. I shouldn't laugh because it could be very dangerous for some people. Paramount shuts down Mission Impossible set due to positive COVID test results. This is what they write. This just came out a little bit earlier. Filming in the United Kingdom on Christopher McQuarrie's Mission Impossible 7 has been shut down due to a positive COVID-19 test. Positive COVID-19 test that results during a routine testing, a Paramount Pictures representative has confirmed to IndieWire. In a statement, the studio said, "We have temporarily halted production on Mission Impossible 7 until June 14th due to positive coronavirus test results during routine testing. We are following all safety protocols and will continue to monitor the situation." And that again comes to us from the folks over at IndieWire. And you know what? It's kind of a nice reminder and something that I think those of us in North America need to be aware of, because listen, we've been celebrating lately the fact that we are starting to put the pandemic in our rearview mirror. Like, we're just at the beginning processes of it. We are on our way out of the pandemic. Life is starting to get back to normal. People are being able to go back to sporting events. Movie theaters are opening up. We got A Quiet Place making almost $50 million on its opening weekend. And we've been getting really happy about that. But, you know, we also have to remain aware that there are many places in the world where it is still an issue. There are still people dying from this thing, and precautions still need to be taken seriously. And it looks like it has come to bite Mission Impossible 7 in the ass again. And again, I shouldn't be laughing. Somebody's life could be at stake here. Somebody's health, somebody's job could be at stake here. But it just seems like this is a movie that is constantly being hit with repercussions and ramifications of the pandemic. And here's hoping, number one, that they are able to get the production back up and running in a really expedient way and get this film finished off and get it in the can. And number two, and probably more importantly, here's our well wishes for anybody on the set who was tested positive, that they're able to make a speedy recovery, that they don't become, a flashpoint for getting other people in the production crew sick or anything like that. So yeah, our thoughts and well wishes go out to everybody there at Mission Impossible for health and well-being, and hopefully to get this movie back up and running. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm just dying to see Mission Impossible 7. I am just dying to see Mission Impossible 7. I really am. But I want them to get it done in a good and safe way, and here's hoping everybody over there is okay. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to one more off the top before we get into our main topics here today. And that next off the top is this. One of the new Disney Plus series back at D23 that they announced, and D23 feels like an eternity ago. But back at the last D23, and I was there at the Anaheim Convention Center, I was sitting in the room as Kevin Feige was on stage and talking about all the new shows, and they mentioned Ms. Marvel, they mentioned Moon Knight, they talked about the Hawkeye series, they talked about a lot. But one of the most surprising ones that they talked about was She-Hulk. That was one that really caught me by surprise. Not because I had heard they would never do She-Hulk, but I just never imagined they would do a She-Hulk show, and yet they were doing a She-Hulk show. And not long after that came out word that they were talking to Mark Ruffalo about being in it, and then came later on confirmation that Mark Ruffalo was going to be appearing in it. Well, a lot of people started wondering, is Mark Ruffalo going to be on screen as himself, or is he still going to be Professor Hulk? Like, are we going to, just like Endgame, magically jump to a point where he was now just Professor Hulk? Will they in She-Hulk just say, oh yeah, sometime off camera, I figured out how to revert back to my human form? So that's been one of the questions. Will he appear as Hulk, Professor Hulk, or just as Bruce Banner? Well, the first images, some on-set photos have started coming out from She-Hulk. And in one of those photos, we actually get to see Mark Ruffalo. And guess what? Mark Ruffalo is done up completely in his Professor Hulk motion capture suit. I'm looking at this thing, and this looks like completely identical to the outfit he had on for when he was shooting Endgame. He's got all the expression capture dots on his face, the full motion capture suit, and all that kind of stuff is all going on there. Now listen, I love Mark Ruffalo. Also, being a She-Hulk show, having her cousin, Bruce Banner Hulk, appear in it makes sense. But it also reminds me of something else. Listen, I loved Infinity War. I loved Endgame. I love all the stuff that the brothers did on their Marvel movies. The Russos did a great job on all 4 of the Marvel movies they did. My one nitpick complaint about the Russo brothers' handling of MCU properties when they were still doing stuff with the MCU was how they handled Hulk. They turned Hulk from the ultimate nuclear option in the MCU. Like, if you remember back to the original Avengers movie, like, Loki basically set it up because Hulk was the key to everything. Bringing the monster on board was everything. Hulk was the nuclear option. But more and more, as you went through, especially once you got into Infinity War and Endgame, the Russo brothers really decided to neuter Hulk. And now Hulk, by the time you get into Endgame, Hulk was still a smart, strong guy, but nowhere near that, oh my God, it's the Hulk. Like, go back to the original Avengers movie, it's like, okay, everybody, you be very, very careful approaching Bruce. Make sure Bruce doesn't get angry. Keep calm, big guy, keep calm. Like, he was the ultimate nuclear thing. And so as we move into She-Hulk, I gotta say, while I'm excited to see a She-Hulk, I'm excited to see the show, and I'm glad Mark Ruffalo's there, I am hoping that there's going to be some small little story thing there where he is no longer Professor Hulk. I want Savage Hulk back. I want that Hulk that the world trembles, that the Hulk himself is a global level threat. if not handled properly and if not taken care of. But that's just me, whatever. Still, it is pretty good to see him on set there. It's good to see him back in the suit. And obviously, this is not the She-Hulk and Hulk show. This is She-Hulk. She's going to be the focus of attention. I expect we probably won't see Ruffalo in more than 1 or 2 episodes of this thing because they're going to want to keep the focus on She-Hulk because it's her show. But it's going to be interesting to see where they go. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? It is kind of cool to see Ruffalo there on set, back in the full motion capture. Apparently he is going to be Hulk again. What do you guys think? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down, let's move into our main topics here today, shall we? And how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with our main topics. Whenever you come across a big story, topic, or issue that you think we should have as a main topic here on the John Campea Show, just go anytime 24/7 to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's totally free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's get into main topic number 1. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Miguel Dominguez, who writes, "Hi, John. Reporting from Mexico. Good to have you here, Miguel. I have watched you since the AMC days. Thanks for the amazing job you do every day." Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. "I wanted to ask you if you saw the 17-second tease of the director of Shazam posted on his YouTube channel, Pony Masher. It is nothing big, but I think it shows a little of the tone of the movie. What are your thoughts? And bring on the filthy." All right, man. Thanks a lot for sending that in. And yeah, listen, for those of you who may not know, I love Shazam. I love that movie. I appreciate Shazam more than most people do. I admit that. I probably appreciate it more. But to me, it is my second favorite DCEU movie. Number 1, obviously, being Man of Steel. I mean, there's Henry right. There he is, right there. Henry standing right there, protecting the studio. Obviously, Man of Steel is the greatest DCEU movie ever. But honestly, to me, the second best one they've ever done was Shazam. It was filled with heart and charm and great humor. And, you just, oh my God, the little sister, come on, you can just eat her up. I loved it. I was just thoroughly entertained. Me and my wife, when we were watching that movie, we were just grinning ear to ear the entire time. It just felt good. It was a good, entertaining, wonderful little movie. It broke even at the box office. It didn't shatter world records or anything. I think it got close to 400 million or so. I can't remember. But it deserved more because I thought it was great. So I have been obviously very, very excited about the idea of them getting back and us getting Shazam 2. And we, of course, have had some new leaks. Obviously, the great Helen Mirren is going to be in there as one of the villains. That's great. And so Fury of the Gods is shaping up. Now, one of the things that a lot of people grumbled about, and even I admit was not great, about the first Shazam movie, even before the movie came out, was the bodysuit. Zach Levi, who's a big dude and in great shape, but his Shazam costume, it literally looked like they just stuffed pillows into his costume. Not because he looked too big, but just because it just looked like there was just padding. It didn't look like there was a human body under the costume. It looked padded. Now, it didn't look as bad in the movie to me as it did in the still images, but still, that was one of the points that some people would grumble about, and I get it, because it did kind of look like that. Well, in the midst of the director of Shazam putting out this really showing us nothing little 17-second clip, they also released the first images of Zachary Levi in his new costume. He does have a brand new Shazam costume for Shazam 2 Fury of the Gods. And it actually looks much better, and I'll tell you why. So first of all, let's take a look at the image. Here's the image here. Now, number one, he looks a little bit more trimmed down, so he doesn't look quite as bulky. But the most important thing here to me, it actually looks like there's a human physique underneath the costume. You know, whereas in the last one, it looked like pillows were stuffed underneath the costume. This one actually looks to me like there's a human body under there. It actually looked like that's actual muscle and size. And I wouldn't doubt it if some of it is real, because like I said, Zachary Levi has been working out like an animal to get ready for this thing. The other thing I noticed, and I don't know if they did this in Shazam 1 or not. I don't know. But you guys remember that in Man of Steel, Zack Snyder made the decision to do, in most of the movie, Superman's cape was not real. Like Henry Cavill, most of the time that he was in the Superman costume, he didn't actually have a physical cape attached to him. Zack Snyder made the decision to go CGI on the cape. And that was a decision that I thought worked really well. Because, you know, you can't really, there's only so much you can do to control how a cape is going to move. At least if you're CGIing it in post, you can control exactly what the cape is doing. And when you watch Man of Steel, the cape always looks magnificent. It always looks magnificent. So I know a lot of people say, no, always go practical, never use CGI. No, a lot of times CGI is the best option. And I thought it worked great. And I don't think, because I had somebody write into me and say, John, did you see the new picture of the Shazam costume? He doesn't have a cape anymore. No. It's not that he doesn't have a cape anymore. It's that I think probably what they've decided to do is to use CGI to cape just like they did with Man of Steel. And for all I know, they might have done some of that in the first Shazam too. I never really paid attention to it. But anyway, listen. Does a better costume mean the movie is going to be better? Absolutely not. If the script is terrible and it's a terrible story, just the fact that his costume looks a little better, that's not going to save the movie. But is it nice that the costume looks better? Yes, it is nice. Because I honestly, even though I didn't think the last one looked so bad that it distracted me from the movie, to me, this is a night and day difference quality-wise in the costume. Again, it's just because last time it looked like cushions were pushed into his suit. This time it actually looks like there's a human body on it. So I kind of like it. I like it a lot. Question is for you guys. What do you think of this new Shazam costume? I think it looks fantastic. I don't know that it'll make the movie any better, but I think it looks great. How do you guys feel about it? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Carter, who writes, did you see that per Production Weekly, Wedding Crashers 2 is being filmed in August for HBO Max with the original cast returning? Is this legit? And if so, are you excited? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, listen, one of my top 10 favorite comedies of all time is Wedding Crashers. I mean, it was a great year because within a year for comedies, I think two of the greatest comedies, two of my top 10 favorite comedies came out basically in the same year. And that was Wedding Crashers and 40-Year-Old Virgin. I don't know if they came out in the same calendar year, but I'm pretty sure they came out within a year of each other. I mean, that was just a killer era for really good comedies. Wedding Crashers is awesome. I love Wedding Crashers. It's just so funny. Every moment of it's funny. And when you go back, I mean, Rachel McAdams, obviously Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson, who we're about to see in Loki, they were terrific in it. But Rachel McAdams was great in it. Anyway, the cast was fantastic. The humor's fantastic. And I've wanted a second one for a long time. Now, this is a great example where a lot of people would say there's no need for another Wedding Crashers. The story was told. And I'm like, okay, yeah, the story was told, but I don't want to see Wedding Crashers again for the next deep story they have. I personally want to see Wedding Crashers again, another Wedding Crashers, just because I want to hang out with these two characters again for 2 hours. Just hanging out with these characters for 2 hours, making me laugh, seeing their dynamic interaction, that's all I've needed. Now, we've seen a lot over the past year especially that we've heard Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson talking about, yeah, we're still talking about Wedding Crashers 2. Yeah, we're still talking about Wedding Crashers 2, but we've never seen anything concrete. Now, out of nowhere, there's apparently some kind of Wedding Crashers thing. Now, this comes to us from the folks over at MovieWeb who write the following. It appears, after much discussion over the years, that Wedding Crashers 2 is finally happening, and we have HBO Max to thank for it. The streaming service is reportedly set to reunite Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson for a sequel to their 2005 comedy. It also appears that the original creative team and other members of the cast are set to return as well. The news comes from a newly revealed production listing. It states that Owen Wilson, Vince Vaughn, Isla Fisher, and Rachel McAdams are all on board to return for Wedding Crashers 2. Additionally, the original director, David Dobkin, will also be back in the saddle. Evan Saucer, First Flight and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, is said to have penned the screenplay. Okay, so where is this coming from? And that's kind of going to be a theme of today. Where is this coming from? This is coming from an alleged, and I use the word alleged right now because it may be 100% legit. It may not be. I don't know for sure. But this is where it's all coming from. It's coming from this production listing saying Wedding Crashers 2, new media feature for HBO Max, status August 2021, location Puerto Rico. That's interesting. They're going to shoot in Puerto Rico. But here's the funny thing. After I saw this listing, I went and looked around and I could not see anything from any of the major trades writing about it. And you would think if Wedding Crashers 2 was actually greenlit and they're getting ready to go into production in August, you would think that Variety, Entertainment Weekly, Deadline, The Hollywood Reporter, you'd think that one of them would have had this story. And I mean, I haven't been able to see anything. So look, working in the rumor's favor is, number one, that both Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson have been talking for a long time about doing a Wedding Crashers 2. So to hear a Wedding Crashers 2 is happening, not terribly surprising because they've talked about it for a long time. So it coming to fruition. But I haven't been able to find any what you would call corroborating evidence that suggests that this is actually real. So is it real? Honestly, right now, I don't know. I don't know if this is actually legitimate. I don't know that it isn't legitimate. I don't know that it's not, but I'm not seeing a lot of supporting evidence to suggest that it is right now. I will say this. I'm down for it. I'm absolutely down for it. And it's also believable because, listen, I love Vince Vaughn. I also think he's a really good guy. I've told the story about how he made my wife look like a rock star in front of her friends when he saw Anne and he recognized her and he said, Anne, and made her look like a superstar in front of all of her coworkers at this conference they were doing at a hotel. So I'll always be grateful to Vince Vaughn for that. Owen Wilson, I've been a big Owen Wilson fan ever since Shanghai Noon. I'm really excited to see him do Loki. By the way, little thing, just between you and me. You know what I'm doing after today's show? I'm watching Loki. I'm watching Loki after today's show. First 2 episodes. I'm going to watch the first 2 episodes of Loki after this. Anyway. But let's face it. As much as I like Vince Vaughn and as much as I like Owen Wilson, and I do very, very much, the reality is it's not like either of them are super hot right now. It's not like they're both burning up the business right now. So the idea of doing a Wedding Crashers 2 must be even more appealing to them right now because it'll put them right back in the highlight of things. So I think that's great. I hope it's real. I don't know if it is. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this story? Reports going around that a Wedding Crashers 2 is actually going to be going into production, that Owen Wilson, Vince Vaughn, Rachel McAdams, Isla Fisher, they're all back, all that kind of stuff. Do you believe it? Do you not believe it? Regardless of if you believe it or not, do you want to see your Wedding Crashers 2? It's been 16 years. I still want another one. What do you guys think? Jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down, let's move into main topic number 3. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Hayden Lee, who writes, I've been watching your show every day since the AMC days. Thank you so much, Hayden. I appreciate that. Well, it's now official. Ip Man will now join the John Wick universe. But seriously, I'm very excited about the news that Donnie Yen joining John Wick 4, hopefully as an ally. How big of a role do you think Donnie is going to have since they are late into pre-production? Can't wait to see some serious ass-kicking and bring on the filthy. All right, man, thanks for sending this in. And guys, there's a lot of news that's interesting and fascinating, but every once in a while, whether it's Henry Cavill being the new lead in Highlander, or whether it's, news of a new Batman trailer dropping, or so, every once in a while, a piece of news comes out that overrides your adult mental faculties and just makes you want to go, Donnie Yen in John Wick 4 is one of those pieces of news. Damn right. Donnie Yen in John Wick 4? Are you kidding me? This is delicious. This is absolutely delicious. I love this. I can't think, honestly, this might be the most perfect addition to a John Wick 4. I've heard some people say, a Jackie Chan in a John Wick would be really badass. Maybe, but Jackie, the great Jackie Chan, he's got so much of a comedy thing to him that maybe it wouldn't work quite as well. I don't know. Putting Donnie Yen in there is nothing short to me than brilliant. This comes to us from the folks over at Deadline who write, Donnie Yen has been set by director Chad Stahelski to star with Keanu Reeves in John Wick 4 for Lionsgate. Yen will play. So getting back to your question you're asking, I hope he's an ally. Well, Deadline answers that question. Yen will play an old friend of Reeves' super assassin John Wick, who shares his same history and many of the same enemies. That comes to us from Deadline. And ladies and gentlemen, I am one with the Force and the Force is with me. Donnie Yen is going to be in John 4. Listen, one of the difficult things about franchises, and as you progress and move forward with franchises, is there is this perceived, and we've talked about this before, there is this perceived law of diminishing returns. That somehow, some way, in the next movie, it has to be bigger and the stakes have to be larger. Great. Well, then if you do another one after that, now the stakes have to be even bigger and the set piece is even larger and it has to be even more bombastic. Okay, great. Now you're going to do another one. Now you just got to keep going with this huge escalation sort of thing. But I will say this. Adding a Donnie Yen to a John Wick 4, regardless of what happens in the movie, Donnie Yen just being in this movie is an escalation, right? And there's not a lot of times you can say that just for a casting. But if you're talking about franchises that, law of diminishing returns, you got to escalate and you got to escalate and you got to escalate, all that escalation happens in the movie. I propose that just the addition of a Donnie Yen to a franchise like John Wick, I'm not saying adding Donnie Yen to just any movie is an automatic escalation. I'm not saying that. But adding a Donnie Yen to a movie like a John Wick 4, to me, is in and of itself an escalation. It raises the bar just with his presence in the movie. Now, again, he may only be in this movie for 10 or 15 minutes, maybe 5 minutes for all we know. We don't know. Maybe he's going to be the co-lead of this. Maybe he'll be in a full 45 minutes of this movie. Maybe he'll be in more of this movie than Keanu Reeves will, or maybe he'll just pop up in one quick scene, say hello, punch somebody in the face, and leave. I don't know. So obviously, the size of the impact of Donnie Yen being in John Wick 4 will be in direct relation to how much actual screen time does he get. But let's go on the assumption for a moment, just for the sake of argument, that he's going to be in the movie for 10 to 20 minutes. Good enough for me. If he's in more, fantastic. But if you get Donnie Yen for 10 to 20 minutes, that means he's probably going to be in a good 4, 5, or 6 scenes. A lot of opportunity there for him to do his Donnie Yen magic. Sign me up. Sign me up. I love it. I love it. This is one of those pieces of news, guys. It just, the heart starts pumping, the blood starts flowing, and you just get excited. I'm very excited about this. I think this is fantastic. I cannot wait to see what they're going to do with this. I cannot wait to see him in this movie. I'm just very excited. I don't know if you can tell. I'm just very excited. Question is for you guys. What do you think about the addition of Donnie Yen to this? Maybe you're not all that thrilled with it. Maybe you're like, yeah, Donnie Yen's great, but I mean, we don't know if he's going to be any good in this movie. And you're right. You are 100% right. But me personally, I'm very excited about it. How are you guys feeling? Jump on down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move into main topic number 4, shall we? And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Kyle. And Kyle writes, "Hey, John, if the reported issues for The Batman are true, what should Warner Brothers do? Are they in too deep financially to put it on HBO Max to save face? But if the rumors are true, I hope they are not. It will be disastrous as a theatrical release. Thanks." All right. So many of you people are probably reading that and you're thinking, wait a minute, time out. What issues with The Batman? What issues? So here's what happened. Last night, as I was getting show notes together for today, I had about 4 or 5 messages from different people writing in saying, "John, did you hear that Warner Brothers hates the new Batman? John, did you hear that Warner Brothers wants to delay Batman again because they're so unhappy with it?" And I heard from like 4 or 5 different people writing in to the show saying, "John, did you hear this?" And I just kind of ignored it. BS, BS, BS. But then I woke up this morning and I rolled out of bed at about 6 this morning, checked my notes, and there was like 20 more messages from people saying, "John, did you hear? Apparently the Batman's really bad and Warner Brothers hates it. And they're talking about delaying it and all this kind of stuff." And I'm like, well, I mean, if all these people are talking about it, I should probably look into it, but it sounds BS to me. Now listen, before we get into where this is all coming from, I will tell you this. The reason this sounds BS to me, all right, there are 3 primary reasons why this sounds like BS to me, and I didn't really pay any attention to it at first. Number 1, DC and Warner Brothers were very vocal about how much they loved Matt Reeves' pitch of the Batman. I mean, back years ago now we're talking years ago, they were extremely vocal about how much they loved his pitch. Fast forward to the first DC fandom they did. Even though the Batman was now forever away, they decided to feature a lot of the Batman and do this big Q&A thing with Matt Reeves. It was kind of like the crown jewel of DC fandom. That whole thing they did with Matt Reeves. They clearly, if they didn't believe in this movie, they clearly wouldn't have spent so much time at DC fandom talking about the Batman, because they could have just not talked about it and said, the reason we're not talking about it is still more than a year away. But they didn't. They made this big forum thing out of it and they talked with him about it and blah. So number 1, they were extremely vocal about how much they loved his pitch. Number 2, they are so big on how this is turning out that they decided to make this big feature thing at DC fandom, even though the Batman was still a long ways off. The third reason is one I might get into a little bit of trouble for mentioning. So I'll just do it without mentioning any details. But not terribly long ago, I was on a Zoom call with myself, someone I know at Warner Brothers, and 3 or 4 other people in my field. I won't say who, but a few other people in my field who kind of do what I do, right? And during that call, it was kind of mentioned and dropped that they love, like the basic attitude coming out of it was, guys, wait till you see this. Like they weren't singing about it the way Kevin Feige is singing about the Eternals. Like Kevin Feige's like, Eternals is going to be a best picture winner. Like he's not saying, they never said it was like, this is going to be the best picture of the year. This is the greatest Batman movie ever made. But they were very positive. And the underlying message was, we can't wait for you to see this. Like, we can't wait for you to see this. That sort of thing. So when you combine the fact that they were so vocal that they loved the pitch, the fact that they were so big on what was happening that they devoted a lot of time and made a big deal out of the Batman at DC fandom, and combined with the fact that myself and a number of other, probably of online guys that you watch, have been told what I was told, I just immediately thought, well, this sounds like BS. This sounds like absolute, utter BS. But again, I woke up this morning to see about 20 more messages. So clearly people are talking about this. Batman's in trouble. Warner Brothers hates Batman. They're going to delay it again. So I started my research, and anybody want to guess where one of the main things is that this came from? Anybody want to guess? If you guess we got this covered, oh my goodness, kudos to you. And now, of course, in case it's not clear, for those you may not know, We Got This Covered is the #1 fake news site on the internet. Never, ever, ever believe anything that comes from We Got This Covered. All right? Just be clear about that. Never buy anything. But We Got This Covered, they got a source. They're not saying we are telling you that the Batman is bad and that Warner Brothers is unhappy with it. We've got a source. And where do they get their source from? You guessed it. Reddit. An anonymous user on Reddit said Batman was in trouble. Now, I just want to remind everybody that the great anonymous sources on Reddit are the same place that that rumor that everybody believed. But remember, before Batman versus Superman came out, everybody believed that Batman versus Superman was being split into two movies. It was going to be called Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice, and the other one was going to be called Batman versus Superman Enter the Night, with the K, right? Enter the Night. Remember that? Remember this image? Let me see if I can. There. Remember this image that flew all around the internet? Ooh, and it came from Reddit. Therefore, it must be true. And everybody just believed it. Everybody just believed it. And then some people online, I was one of them, but there were others as well, tried to talk to the fan base and say, guys, don't buy this. This isn't coming from anywhere legitimate. And anybody can Photoshop a screen capture like that. Don't buy this. And a lot of us got told we were stupid. Obviously, it's true. It wouldn't be on the internet if it wasn't true. But basically what happened here is that We Got This Covered got a post on Reddit. And basically the post said this: I have a guy who usually works for Marvel Studios who recently also heard from someone who said he worked on the Batman and that the film will make fun of Snyder by making a big deal out of Batman's no-kill rule and explaining why he doesn't and should never kill. Also, was told by same person that the Batman is amazing, but that stupid Warner Brothers is unhappy with it for stupid reasons. They are thinking about delaying, but no final decision. Let me read this very, very high-level journalistic source writing again. Also was told by the same person that the Batman is amazing, but that stupid Warner Brothers is unhappy with it for stupid reasons. They are thinking about delaying, but no final decision. So, I would never even bother talking about this on my show. And this has happened several times where there's some BS thing going around, not worth talking about. But when I have 25 to 30 people writing in, that means it's catching on with people, and I feel like we need to at least address it. Now, look, let me say this. Is it mathematically impossible that anybody at Warner Brothers might not be thrilled with how the Batman is turning out? Of course it's possible there's some people at Warner Brothers or anywhere that might not be happy. It's mathematically possible. Is it possible that Batman could be delayed again? Well, obviously, because when they set the new release date, we remember we talked about this on the John Campea Show. When they set the new release date, one of the phrases that they used was "for now." Now, for now, our date is blah, 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 and they were aiming for that. So we've always known that the Batman could get another bump. We've known that for 6 months to a year, that it could get another bump. That's possible. But I also want to remind everybody, none of this is in any of the sources that have the real connections. Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, Entertainment Weekly, Deadline, The Wrap, whatever. None of these places are reporting this. This is coming from an anonymous user on Reddit who says he heard from somebody who heard from somebody else that stupid Warner Brothers wants to delay it for stupid reasons. Okay, look, I want to talk about something here for a second. Okay, I just want to talk about this for a second. This is what's known in legal terms as hearsay. So remember, this anonymous Reddit user is not saying, I have spoken to the Warner Brothers executives I have heard the Warner Brothers executives say they hate it. He's saying that he heard from somebody who heard from somebody else. This is what's called hearsay in legal terms, okay? What is hearsay? Let's jump into the Campea classroom for just a second. Hearsay, by definition in the dictionary, is the report of another person's word by a witness which is usually disallowed as evidence in the court of law. So basically, here's this. This is what evidence. Let's say a cat, follow along with me here, okay, guys? Let's say a cat was seen making scrambled eggs. Okay, that's our scenario. A cat was seen making scrambled eggs. Okay. So Abigail comes into court, and Abigail says, I saw a cat making scrambled eggs. Okay, so I'm just going to put AB. Abigail says, I saw cat making eggs. Okay, that's evidence. That's legitimate testimony in a court. That's something the court takes seriously. It's not that the witnesses are always 100% honest or anything like that, but that's up for the court to figure out. But generally speaking, Abigail saying, I witnessed a cat making scrambled eggs. That is testimony. That's evidence. Where hearsay comes in is Abigail says, I heard from Susie that she saw a cat making eggs. Okay. Now, we're in a situation where it's not Abigail saying she saw it. She's saying she heard from somebody who saw it. That is hearsay. That's something the courts normally don't take seriously. There are exceptions. I'm oversimplifying this. I'm totally oversimplifying this. But generally speaking, that's something the court doesn't take seriously. Somebody saying, I heard somebody else say that they saw something is hearsay. Well, when we look at, and by the way, Taylor Haywood sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thanks, Taylor. When we go back and look at this, it's not just hearsay. What we have here is double hearsay. I have a guy who usually works for Marvel who recently also heard from somebody who said he worked on the new Batman movie, that the film will make fun of Snyder, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what are we left here with? We are with something that's called double hearsay. Okay, so double hearsay is this. Abigail says, Susie says, Monica saw a cat making eggs. Okay, so now it's not only hearsay, it's not only Abigail didn't see it, she heard from somebody else, Susie, who she didn't even see it, who says she heard it from somebody else named Monica. So Abigail says Susie heard Monica say that Monica saw a cat. This is then double hearsay. It's not admissible in court. You can't take it seriously. There's so many points of error in there that it becomes ridiculous. So look, bottom line here for me is this. Is it theoretically possible? Is it theoretically possible that there is somebody over at Warner Brothers who did not like what they saw coming together in the Batman? It's theoretically possible. Is it theoretically possible that they could delay the Batman again? Well, we've been saying that for 6 months to a year, that they're saying that's the release date, but they were never really 100% concrete on that. So that's possible too. It's theoretically possible. But we as a movie fandom need to become more discerning, I believe, in what we hear, because we hear all sorts of nonsense every day. We hear all sorts of nonsense every day. And there's so much legitimate and non-legitimate stuff that comes out every day. We as a movie fandom and as a movie fandom community need to be a little bit more discerning as to what is worth talking about. What should we take seriously? What should we say, oh, that's interesting, let's file that away and we'll come back to it later if there's ever any more evidence that backs it up? And what should we just reject outright? And this is one of those situations to me that is one of these things that we can probably say, yeah, don't pay any attention to this rumor. Don't pay any attention to this rumor. And listen, I want to wade into the muck here for just a second, but this should be pointed out. It'd be remiss not to at least point this out. One of the other things about this report makes it pretty clear that there's an agenda. All right. The very fact that it mentions that the film is to make fun of Snyder. Okay. Right there. The film will make fun of Snyder. Right there. What is instantly obvious is that this was written with the agenda of riling up the Snyderverse fans, saying, see, Warner Brothers is the enemy. They're going to go out and attack Snyder. See? To me, that's a dead giveaway. Now, I'm not saying people who are fans of Snyder, I'm a fan of the Snyderverse movies, obviously Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, but it's not to say that people shouldn't be big fans of Snyderverse or want Snyderverse to continue if that's what they want. I personally don't think they should, and they probably won't, but there's also some people that are just very militaristic about it. And this being put in there makes it a dead giveaway that this is just to bait and rile up people who are Snyderverse supporters, to get them all in a tizzy and to get them all sharing it around and stuff like that. Because, I don't know anybody who can seriously do the stuff who writes, because stupid Warner Brothers wants to delay it for stupid reasons. But the Batman movie's awesome. As if they saw it. The Batman movie's awesome, but stupid Warner Brothers doesn't like it. Okay, so to me, whatever. Now look, anything is possible. Anything is possible. But to me, this is a clear, obvious thing that we don't need to pay any attention to this. Pay no attention to this. It's not worth it. And if at some point we hear that the Batman is going to get another delay, don't forget, that's kind of been a topic of conversation for a long time, that was a possibility. So don't jump to any conclusions. So we'll see. And by the way, am I saying that Matt Reeves' The Batman is going to be awesome? No, I don't know that. For all I know, it's going to be a steaming pile of garbage. I believe it's going to be great because I think Matt Reeves has earned the benefit of the doubt. I think, and the trailer was fantastic, and I believe we're going to get a really good movie. But do we know we're going to get a great movie? No, it could be terrible. Maybe it will. I'm no blind Matt Reeves Batman fanboy. I'm excited about it. I'm eagerly anticipating it, but I also know it could be terrible. So I know we'll have to wait and see. Guys, the question is for you. What do you think about these reports going around? Do you buy into it? Do you not? Whatever you guys are thinking, jump on down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With all of that down and out of the way, let's now spend the rest of the day taking your live comments and questions. And by the way, I want to mention that I said at the end of yesterday's show that I was going to do a companion video yesterday. When I went to go do it, I realized there was only about 10 minutes worth of companion video questions to do. And I thought it would probably not be worth it to do an entire video for only a handful of questions. So I decided we would delay it till today. So we got to get caught up today. So let's not waste any time and get right to it. First up, we're going with Anton Riley, who writes in. Hey, John. I was that anonymous guy who asked about your favorite sitcoms, though my name was there. But have you heard about Avengers Park at Disneyland? It just opened last night and looks like a whole lot of fun. Do you want to go and get some shawarma? Yeah, listen, before the pandemic even hit, Ann and I were Disney annual pass holders. They don't allow annual passes anymore. But so Ann and I were going to Disneyland like every 6 weeks. We would go to Disneyland just because we could. Because we had an annual pass. And walking around the area where they were making the Avengers area, the whole Marvel area, was great. Ann and I went to Disneyland last week, but the Marvel we'll call it Marvel Land for argument. I can't remember what it's actually called, but let's just call it Marvel Land for argument's sake. Marvel Land is not yet open, so we couldn't see it, but it's open now. And next weekend is mine and Anne's anniversary. So Anne and I are celebrating our anniversary next weekend. And as a part of that weekend, we are going to go, Colin Z is saying it's called Avengers Campus. So Colin Z, Manpreet, Anch, and all you guys who are writing in there, Avengers Campus, thank you for the update on that. This is one of the good things about doing the show live. I get to hear from you guys. Called Avengers Campus. So fortunately, Anne and I have already booked our visit for Disneyland next weekend as well, and we're going to be able to visit Avengers Campus, and I'm very excited to see it. I think it's going to be really cool. Or I like what True Chew is saying. They should rename it Campea Campus. I like that. Please write to Marvel and Disney and let them know to rename Avengers Campus to Campea Campus. I think that's a great idea. All right, next up. Simon writes, Deadline has reported that Netflix has basically canceled Jupiter's Legacy, which we talked about on yesterday's show, and released its cast. I couldn't get into enjoying Jupiter's Legacy. The flashbacks were too many. But do you think that this will be Netflix's last of bringing original superhero content? No. Look, just because one thing didn't work doesn't mean you ignore the entire trend. Original superhero stuff right now is working. Whether you're looking at Doom Patrol, you're looking at The Boys, you're looking at Invincible, you're looking at all this stuff, Superman and Lois either, it's working. Just because you put out something that didn't work so well, and Jupiter's Legacy, in my opinion, didn't work, so I'm not surprised it got canceled. But you don't just on one thing go, let's completely develop an entire philosophy around a genre of property. So no, and as a matter of fact, they're already announcing that they're going to do another show called Super Crooks that kind of takes place in the same universe as Jupiter's Legacy. So they're going to try more. So don't worry about that. But yeah, I'm not surprised that Jupiter's Legacy got canceled. All right, next up. A Nun E. Moose writes, I guess that's supposed to sound out to be anonymous. Anyway, and by the way, John Demoto sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, John. Jonathan Majors in a Creed movie, Kang versus Killmonger. Looking forward to Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut. Yeah, we were talking about this on the show yesterday that apparently it's happening. Jonathan Majors, who starred in Lovecraft Country on HBO, he's great in that, who's also going to be Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man Quantumania. He is going to be the big opponent for Michael B. Jordan's Creed in Creed 3. Very excited about that. I thought that was a great announcement, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what they do with that. Thanks for that, Enon. Scott Brown writes, Superman of Tomorrow is really good. It's a younger Clark, and he's so charismatic and hopeful, and he has a fantastic relationship with his mom. The action is really good, and it also has Lobo in it. Highly recommend. Hope they do a sequel. It's HBO Max. If this is another DC animated thing, no thanks. DC and Marvel animated straight-to-home video stuff is usually crap. There are exceptions. I always say that there are a couple of things that either Marvel or DC has done with direct-to-home video animation that I have enjoyed. But for the most part, I usually find it's total crap. But I'm glad you like it. And a lot of you guys like the stuff that they do. And that's awesome. I celebrate that. It's just really not for me. All right, next up. Min Tran writes, besides the main three, Lucifer, Michael, and Amedadil, who was your favorite angel from Lucifer after watching season 5B? Well, I mean, other than Michael, really no other angel has really had a prominent presence. They make a little appearances here and there, but not much. So whether it's the righteous or, Gabriel was funny. But I didn't pay much attention to the other angels. They really usually played very, very minor little fill-in spots. So it didn't really mean much. So I'm not saying I didn't enjoy the other angels, but they were very much background things to create context than anything else. So I don't know that I really have one that stood out to me, but I did love the finale of Lucifer season 5B. Season 5B's finale with, oh my me, was perfect ending. Absolutely perfect ending. All right. Miss Min Tran writes, bravo for Mr. Said Out Bitch, the Cabbage Man of Lucifer. I have no idea what that means, man. I'm sure there are people who know. I mean, the Cabbage Man, this sounds like an Avatar reference, but I'm not quite sure. So I don't recognize it myself. By the way, Niner Zeno 209 sends in a super chat badge in the live chat, as does Taylor Haywood sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you guys. I appreciate the support, man. All right, let's keep going here. Next up, Mintran also writes, for funsie, do you see Lucifer having Mark Pellegrino do a guest spot in season 6, similar to Rob Benedict's role in season 5B? Okay, so for those of you who don't know what he's talking about, in Lucifer season 5B, there is a small part played by Rob Benedict. Rob Benedict is the guy who plays Chuck or God in Supernatural. And he plays some kind of Russian mobster in this. He plays some kind of Russian mobster. So obviously I got excited because Supernatural is one of my favorite shows. So I pointed out to Anne, that's the guy who plays God in Supernatural. But, you know, Rob is also an actor. I don't think they just put him in there because he was God in Supernatural. I think they just put him in there because he got the role. Right? So no, I don't think having Mark Pellegrino, who plays the devil in Supernatural, I don't see them doing that. I mean, that would be a little gimmicky. Actually, it would be extremely gimmicky. Now, if Lucifer was a CW show, oh, then I could totally see them doing that. But honestly, I think Rob just got the role because Rob got the role. And by the way, Evelyn sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, Evelyn. Appreciate that. So yeah, I don't expect to see Mark show up because I think that'd just be a little too gimmicky to me, but whatever. All right. Rob Tari writes, where is it? Rob Tari writes, I was thinking back when I first saw Infinity War, and I can't remember if I knew Thanos would snap his fingers at the end of it. I mean, we knew a sequel was coming, but we were still shocked when it happened. Did you think Thanos would snap his fingers? Well, listen, we knew that was a possibility. We knew that was a possibility. But I think because we're going back a couple of years now. If you had asked me going into the movie, do I think this will end with him snapping his fingers or them just still in the midst of the whole idea of trying to get all the Infinity Stones isn't done yet. And that's going to pick up in the next one. I would have guessed that no, he's probably not going to snap his fingers at the end of this one. I knew that was a possibility, but I probably would have guessed no. So when he did, let's put it this way. Once he, I spilled water on my thing here. Damn it. So once there we go. Sorry, I spilled water. I spilled water on my desk and it went everywhere. You know what, guys? I'm going to take a quick break while I go and get a paper towel to mop this up. Give me a second. My clumsiness. Give me a second, guys. I will be right back. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. Okay, guys, and we are back. I'm going to see if there's anything else I can spill. I got, you know what would be terrible right now? I've got a bunch of these moist, damp, used paper towels and tissues walking around. If somebody were walking right now and see on my desk all these wadded up balls of tissue and they'd think, hey, Campea, what have you been doing in here in your studio all by yourself? Yeah, it's not a good look right now in my studio. Not a good look. Anyway, for those of you just joining us, I just knocked over my drink and it went flying over everything, and I needed to run and get some paper towels to clean that up. Sure, John, that's what the paper towels are for. Anyway, let's get back over to it, shall we? As I refill my drink with Zevia this time. Here we go. Zevia wouldn't have done that to me. I would have been fine otherwise. Okay, let's get on over and keep things going here. Next up, oh yeah, so I need to finish off what we were saying about Rob Tari is that, I didn't think. I mean, I knew it could have happened. I knew that was a possibility, but I would have guessed that we wouldn't have seen the snap at the end of Infinity War, and they did, and that was a big shock moment for a lot of people. Okay, let's move on. Film Love and Bro writes, hey, John, one indication Disney may want to re-up their deal with Sony is due to Avengers Campus opening up tomorrow. That's irrelevant. It's totally irrelevant. At Disney California Park, from what I've seen of this MCU land, it looks awfully Spidey-centric with a Spidey ride and Spidey gift shop. Yeah, there is a bunch. Listen, there's a whole bunch of Iron Man in there too, but they killed off Iron Man. But there's a lot of Tony Stark and some Iron Man stuff in there that I saw prior to the park closing during the pandemic. That doesn't really mean anything because they still, regardless if Sony has the movie rights to Spider-Man or not, Disney still has all the theme park rights to Spider-Man and all that kind of stuff, and they can still profit off of Spider-Man at the theme park. It really has no bearing on whether or not they re-up. They're two completely separate issues. So they're not really connected at all. Now, again, that doesn't take away from the fact that there is still a very good possibility that Sony and Marvel re-up their deal, but the fact that Spidey is featured in their theme parks really has nothing to do with it. It really doesn't have anything to do with it. All right, next up. My Comic Planet writes, 1 of 3. I want to revisit our talk about noise in theaters. You said you don't experience it much, hardly ever, as a matter of fact, but I definitely do. There's a 50-50 chance I will have to deal with someone using their phone or talking too loud. Chris S did a video on annoying moviegoers. By the way, Mista47 sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, Mista. Stuckman even did a part 2 video. He says his movie-going experience is often ruined to the point where he doesn't even enjoy going anymore. He also believes the real reason a lot of people don't go to the movies is that they don't want to invest their evening going to a theater, but then having it completely ruined by annoying people. I've had that happen too many times. Is there anything the theater industry can do to address this problem? Otherwise, they will continue to lose customers. I disagree. I think that conclusion is flawed. I don't agree with it. Not that I think you're stupid if you think that, not at all. I'm just saying I don't agree with those conclusions. I have never once in my life, have I ever talked to somebody and said, hey, you want to go to a movie tomorrow? And them say, no, I don't want to go because I'm afraid somebody's going to pull out their phone and start talking. So I don't want to go to the movies. I've never had that happen. Now, granted, that's only my own personal experience. Your personal experience could be different, but all I can speak to is my own experience. That's all I can speak to. And Taylor Haywood sends in a super chat badge in live chat. Thank you, Taylor. As does Luis Maya. Thank you, Luis. I appreciate it too, guys. You guys sending in the super chat badges in the live chat. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I all I can do is speak to my experience. And I know Rob and I were talking about that too. He's never had that happen in his lifetime either. So I've never had anybody say, yeah, no, I don't want to go to the movie theater because I'm afraid somebody might talk. I've never had that. Never had it. And again, for me, it's about 1 out of every 15 to 1 out of every 20 times that I go to the theater that something to the level that I would call legitimately distracting happens in a theater. So I don't know if it's where you live. I don't know if it's just luck or bad luck or whatever. But that doesn't mean there aren't things that can be done. For example, I am not a big fan of the Alamo Drafthouse because I'm not a big fan of their CEO and owner for my own reasons. But aside from that, Alamo Drafthouse does a lot of things right. And one of the things that the Alamo Drafthouse does, and I really, really like this, is that they, before the movie plays, They have like very direct messaging. Hey, don't be an asshole and distract people. I remember once, let me see if I can bring up the name of it. Hold on a second. So I remember once I went to see a movie at an Alamo Draft House. And before the movie started, they had this little, I thought it was a clip from a movie or something, but it was Ethan Hawke and Julie Depley. You remember they're in Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, those movies. So it's Ethan Hawke and Julie Depley standing together on a balcony and they're talking about something deep and whatever. I thought, oh, is this a preview for another Before movie? And then all of a sudden you hear a phone ring. And Julie Depley stops and starts swearing like crazy. God damn it, effing you people who's got your phones on in here and blah, blah, blah. And Ethan Hawke's like, yeah, what are you guys doing? Blah, blah, blah. Right? Sending a clear message to shut the F up. I was in another movie theater, and I can't remember where it was exactly, but I was in another movie theater where, like, before the movie starts, an usher comes into the theater, stands in front of the audience, says, hey, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming to our theater tonight. You are about to watch such and such a movie. And guys, we ask, please be courteous of the people around you. People came here to see a movie, not to hear you talk. And people came here to see the image on the big screen, not the light from your cell phone coming off. So please be courteous. And I remember not a single thing. It's not a big deal. But I think all movie theaters need to do is those little things like that one theater and like Alamo does is make a little message before the show. Make a little message before the show, just really hammering it home. Hey, don't be an asshole to the other people around you. And I think that would go a long way. Again, to me, it is simply not an experience. Whether it's the theaters I've been to in Canada or in the United States, it's like maybe 4% of the time I have something that I would call legitimately distracting happens. And again, I have never once in my lifetime, again, this is just my experience. I've never once in my lifetime talked to an individual who said, no, I don't want to go to the movies because I'm afraid some people will talk. I've never had that. But again, that's just only my experience. That's not to delegitimize your experience if yours has been different. But I can only go by what experiences I've had. So there's that. But anyway, thanks for writing that in, man. All right, next up. We go to Tron Starking writes, hey, John, big fan. Thank you so much. To me, the two most visual stunning films are Avatar and Tron Legacy. They're just so beautiful to watch. The stories is a different topic. What are your top visually stunning films? Or do you agree with me? Thank you for what you do. Honestly, when you talk about just straight up visually stunning films, to me, the Lord of the Rings films are gorgeous. Like, just beautiful. But to me, the most visually beautiful film, you guys, let me see if you guys know what I'm going to say. Do you guys, because I've mentioned this before. Do you guys know what I'm going to say as the most visually beautiful film I've ever seen? And Harvey Kung in the live chat got it. Hero. Hero is visually the most gorgeous, beautiful film. And by the way, we're talking about Donnie Yen earlier. Donnie Yen's in here. Jet Li, Zhang Ji Yi is in it. It's just, first of all, the movie's great. Hero is great. It's a great movie. But I have never seen a movie where every single frame is like a gorgeous piece of art. The use of color in Hero is like nothing I've ever seen before in a movie. To this day, I had never seen anything before it, and I've never seen anything since that is as visually beautiful as Hero. Like, again, it's the use of colors, whether they're standing under the tree or he's doing the sand art or whatever. Like, everything has such rich, vibrant, beautiful colors, and the imagery of that movie really tells the story. It is a magnificent film for any discerning movie fan. Absolutely beautiful, gorgeous, wonderful, it's a wonderful mythology tale as well. It's just beautiful, gorgeous, fantastic. I highly recommend, if you haven't checked it out, if you are a discerning movie fan, I highly, highly recommend checking out Hero, because that to me is the most visually beautiful movie I've ever seen. All right, next up, we go to Where are we at? Eric Griffin, who writes, with Loki close to premiering, and I am watching Loki after we're done this show. At least I'm watching the first 2 episodes. I'm going to get to watch Loki episode 1 and 2 after today's show. I won't be able to talk about it until Monday. I'm get to watch it today, but I'm not allowed to talk about it till Monday. So you're going to have to wait to hear my responses, my reactions for it. But I'm very excited. Loki. Anyway, with Loki close to premiering and Black Widow movie following, we will be seeing Loki's penultimate episode before the Black Widow movie. Do you think this is an intentional restructuring of release dates because they will connect to each other in some way? I don't think so, because I think, look, I totally get why you're connecting those dots. Totally do. But again, if it was actually important to them, it would have been something that lined up prior to all the pandemic date changes, right? If there was actually something important to that this needs to happen, it would have been the plan all along. So no, I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be something that happens in the penultimate episode of Loki that directly leads into the Black Widow movie. Now, maybe it will, because, I mean, it does line up that way. I don't think there's any meaning to it, but maybe there is. So we'll have to wait and see. And Eric, if it does, we will remember that you wrote that, my friend. All right, next up. Frankie W. Gouge writes, Jupiter's Legacy's Legacy. 1. If you're coming late to the game after The Boys, Invincible, Umbrella Academy, you better bring your A game. They didn't even bring a C. Well, that's kind of true. 2. Peeves me that there was seeds to a decent story if developed correctly. That happens in a lot of movies and shows. Jupiter's Legacy's Legacy. I believe that a chronological plot line would have worked better. Also, for $200 million, it looked pretty damn bad at times. Yeah, again, and of course, this is going back to the fact that they announced that Jupiter's Legacy has been canceled at Netflix. No more Jupiter's Legacy, it's canceled. And they've released all the actors from their contracts. And it's too bad, because you're right, there was a lot of potential there. There was a lot of potential. And there are, I contend, some very good elements in that movie. There are elements of Jupiter's Legacy that I think are fantastic. And even a lot of the flash, and I didn't even mind the jumping back and forth between time. Maybe a straight up chronological order thing would have worked better, but honestly, I didn't think the jumping back and forth between flashback and modern, I didn't think that hurt the show. It's just that beyond a great starting mythology, they just didn't execute. And by the way, everything, this is no knock on the actress, not knocking the actress at all, but everything regarding the Utopian's daughter was such a waste. Yeah, I get it. She has a drug problem. Yes, I get it. She has a drug problem. Yes, I get it. Her life's a mess. Every episode, every time, it's like, oh, look, she's doing drugs now. Whoa, she's got issues with her. Yeah, we got it already. Can we either use the screen time to tell other elements of the story, or can we have her doing something different? Can we progress this character a little bit? I don't know. There was that, but it was other things too. There was other things too. And it just, unfortunately, it didn't work. And it's too bad, because I really like Leslie Bibb. I like Josh Duhamel. I thought the performances of the actors were all really good. The mythology is good. It's all about execution, man. And it just didn't execute. All right, next up. Luis Maya writes and tips in like $20. Thank you, Luis. Appreciate that, man. Thanks for supporting the channel on that level. 1 of 2. Hey, John, I agree with you on the subject concerning X-Men. They should keep it a separate universe. I totally believe they should. They won't, but I totally believe they should. I feel the X-Men stories could be limited by the events of the mainline MCU. They could also use non-X-Men characters, but their own versions of them. Like Daredevil and others. Also, I would love to see a standalone Marvel movie separate from the MCU. I already see some compelling stories that are not restricted by the events of the MCU. I mean, it's basically like Joker, right? One of the reasons I love Joker so much is because, look, backing it up a little bit, there used to be a time when there was no shared cinematic universe, right? Every superhero movie was its own standalone superhero movie. And so a lot of us got very excited when Nick Fury appeared in Tony Stark's house and said, I'm putting something together called the Avengers Initiative. And a lot of people got very excited about it. the problem that we have had ever since is that we've gone from one error to another error. We went for the error of every single comic book movie is a standalone isolated movie, to the opposite extreme where every single movie is a shared cinematic movie. And I think that's a waste. I think it shouldn't be either or. I think it should be both and. And that's why I got so excited when they announced the Joker movie. Particularly that it was its own isolated standalone movie story, isolated from everything else in the DC world going on at the time, because I believe you should have movies that are shared cinematic universe, and then you should give some filmmakers the complete creative freedom to tell a story in their own world that doesn't have to be influenced or poked or prodded or have their hands tied by what's going on in the other cinematic universe movies. And then Joker did it, and everybody said, nobody's going to be interested in Joker without Batman there. Guess what? They were. Made over $1 billion, nominated for Best Picture of the Year, won Joaquin Phoenix Best Actor at the Academy Awards, smash success, and laid what I believe was a blueprint of how DC and Marvel could later on, hey, yeah, have your Marvel Cinematic Universe, absolutely, but every once in a while, give a filmmaker the freedom to say, you know what, don't worry about the MCU. Here, I'm just going to pull a character out of my ass. Bishop, the X-Men character Bishop. Go to a filmmaker like Justin Lin or something and say, here's Bishop, make a Bishop movie. Don't worry about anything else in the MCU. Don't worry about anything else. Pretend like none of it exists if you don't want to. And just go ahead and make a Bishop movie. No creative handcuffs. Be as creative as you want. Just tell the best story you can about Bishop. And I think you can have both. I think you can do both and. And it's part of the reason why I really like the idea and why I really do believe. And by the way, My Rhino sends in a $10 super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, My Rhino. Appreciate that, dude. That's why I really think what they should do with the X-Men, because there's like 50 characters in there that are legitimately can be used. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of X-Men characters, but like legitimately 30 to 50 of them that you could use in movies. I think that should be its own universe, personally. But that's not what they're going to do. They're going to bring them into the MCU. But yeah, ultimately, I think they should adopt a both and philosophy about standalone movies and cinematic universe. Do both. Do both. I think Joker is a great example that it absolutely can work and work really, really well. Anyway, thanks for sending that in, Luis. Wiley Todd writes, hey, John, interesting thing happened to me today. I was listening to a podcast about Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and they had a thought about the film that made the movie better in my memory. Has this happened to you with a movie? Where a different thought or theory, I mean, I can't remember which one's off the top of my head, but I do know we've talked on the show about a theory comes up about a movie and it totally changes our perception of the movie. I know that's happened, but I couldn't tell you which movies that have been for me. I couldn't think of that. So a theory that's come up that totally made that movie better just from that theory. I don't know. I mean, the closest one for me, and this isn't even a perfect example, but is the theory that The Matrix and Terminator are actually the same cinematic universe. Think about that for a minute. Actually let that sink in. That Matrix is just a further in the future Terminator story. That Terminator and Matrix is actually all in the same thing. I remember when that thought crossed my mind, I'm like, that instantly makes both those movies way more interesting to me. I mean, that's just me. I can't think of any others, but maybe some of you guys can. Jump into the comments and let people know what you think about that. All right. Next up, we've got BK Dan. And BK Dan writes, John Campea, No Way Home. No Way Home domestic equals 400 million, close to 1 billion worldwide. Yeah, listen, I believe Spider-Man's got a shot. We were talking yesterday about movies and the percentage chances they have of maybe joining the $1 billion club, right? Of joining the $1 billion club. And we went through a bunch of those. We went through a bunch of them and we gave percentages of what we thought could happen. So like, for example, I said, I think at Fast 9 has a 19% chance of making $1 billion. Black Widow is a 10%. Suicide Squad, 35%. Shang-Chi, 40%. Many Saints of Newark, 5%. Venom, Let There Be Carnage, 48%. Dune, 25%. External. The Externals. The Eternals, 65%. Ghostbusters, 13%. Top Gun. Spider-Man No Way Home, I think, has the biggest chance of being $1 billion film. I think Spider-Man No Way Home has the biggest chance. And by the way, BK Dan sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thanks, BK. Because it's coming out much later, so even a longer period of time for the COVID pandemic to get in our rear view mirror, the more theaters opening up. It is a big Marvel film. It is another film in a franchise where the last film made over $1 billion. Spider-Man Far From Home made over $1 billion. So if A Quiet Place can come out now and make the same amount of money that the first Quiet Place came out without a pandemic, I think it's very reasonable to think that there's a very good chance that the next Spider-Man, which isn't coming out for months, can make $1 billion as well. I mean, it's to me, the movie, there are several movies that have a shot at it. But to me, Spider-Man No Way Home is the one with the biggest shot at it. That's kind of my take on it at any rate. All right, thanks for that, Dan. Next up, DJ Genius writes, I like that name. Hey, John / Rob. Rob's not here today. Since the MCU is embracing the supernatural, wouldn't it be great if they did an Elsa Bloodstone movie or show? I'll be honest with you, I'm not familiar with Elsa Bloodstone. Her lore is great, unless I'm just not remembering it right. Her lore is great, and she looks cool as hell. Hot toy anyone. And should she be the first introduced in her own show or in Blade? Again, unfortunately, I'm sure a lot of people are getting very excited about you mentioning Elsa Bloodstone. I'm not very familiar with that character. Just straight up, I'll be honest with you. I could try to lie and bullshit and say, oh yeah, Elsa Bloodstone. But no, I'm always honest with you guys. I don't know who the character is. I mean, maybe if Rob were here, say, no, John, she's the one that does this, and this. And I go, oh yes, that. But off the top of my head, I can't remember Elsa Bloodstone. But anyway, like I see Sean Abbott in the live chat is very excited about the idea of Elsa Bloodstone. Elsa Bloodstone Monster Hunter. Well, there you go. So there you go. All right. Thanks for that, DJ Genius. Next up, Captain Blue Pants writes, regarding billion-dollar movie possibilities, I would throw 5 to 10% at one of the musicals, West Side Story, December, if it's good, of course, especially if Evan Hansen, November, and In the Heights, June, gets great reviews and gets people in the mood for musicals again. I still don't see it. I don't think a musical has ever made $1 billion. I mean, In the Heights is coming from Miranda, who of course did Hamilton, which is the hottest thing in the world. Lin-Manuel Miranda, the hottest thing in the world. So maybe that one has a better chance than the others, but I don't think any musical has ever made $1 billion, unless I'm forgetting one. Guys in the live chat, if you know that I'm wrong about that, throw it in there. But I cannot think of a single musical that's ever made $1 billion. I don't think West Side Story is going to be the movie to do it. I don't even think Dear Evan Hansen, I don't even think that's cracking like 300 million. It's going to do very well for what it is, but I don't see that thing breaking 250 or 300 million. Then In the Heights could be big. Yeah, I just have a very, very hard time believing any of them will, but we'll see, Captain Blue Pants. You might be right. You might be right. All right, next up, Tim Tracy writes, one of two. Good day, John. Well, Carry On My Wayward Son. I've got a complete series box set of Supernatural today. Very nice. I've loved the show since day one and really didn't want the show to end. There's an hour-long retrospective that shows the origins of the show and their original ending of the show. It was to feature many returning characters as well as the band Kansas to play Carry On My Wayward Son. We did hear about this. It's amazing the fan community put this show. It's amazing the fan community this show got, and I loved every minute of it. Still sad to see it end, though. Listen, I know. I just loved hanging out with the boys every week. Getting to hang out with the Winchester boys every week. I loved that show. I loved it more than it really deserved to be loved, to be honest with you, but I did. I loved that show. And yeah, the original ending that they were going to do, they were going to have Kansas play, because for those of you who don't know, the season finale of every season of Supernatural, and it ran like 15 seasons, would always play the Kansas song, Carry On My Wayward Son. That was the tradition of the show. One of the best TV traditions ever. They would start the finale, every season finale, with "Carry on my wayward son," and I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. I love so. They, at the end of the show, as they're all in heaven, they were going to actually have Kansas on stage playing, and they were going to have a lot more of almost all of the characters who had ever appeared in Supernatural over the 15 seasons be all there. But there was this little pandemic, and they had to change what they did. I still like the ending very much. I still very, very much like the ending. But yeah, that would have been pretty cool if I had done that. And yes, I agree. I miss Supernatural, and I hope they do some kind of reunion for it sometime in the next couple of years. I would love to see them do a reunion for it in the next few years. All right, next up. Thanks for that, Tim. Tim Tracy also writes, last one I promise. I just wanted to let you know the double feature drive-in showing was great. We both really enjoyed Cruella much more than we expected. And Raya and the Last Dragon was very charming. Good to be back in the movies. Have a great day, man. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, and listen, Cruella, that's kind of the theme for most people with Cruella. Most people's reaction seems to be, that's better than I thought it would be. Because a lot of us, me included, didn't think it was going to be all that great. I mean, it's got Emma Stone. She's one of the best actresses in the world. I was sure it was going to be decent, but honestly, the previews for it and everything, none of them really turned my crank. And then I saw it and it was like, again, not a top 10 movie of the year candidate, but it was really good. It was much better than I thought it would be. I really liked it. And you're right, man. Raya is a very charming movie. I thought Raya was a win. It really was. All right. Next up. Thanks for that, Tim. Ryan Lohner writes, the Lucifer crew have now said the season 5 finale was going to end with a 10-minute epilogue montage. And when they got picked up for season 6, they simply chopped it off so the season could be a much fuller version of those ideas. Can't wait. Well, yeah, like a lot of people forget. First of all, season 4 looked like it was going to be the last season. Well, season 3 looked like it was going to be the last season. Well, then season 4 looked like it was going to be the last season. And then season 5 was coming and they said, okay, season 5's the last season. Season 5 is the last season. And then, as they were almost done shooting season 5, word came out that Netflix wanted another season. So they went to the producers, and the producers said, yeah, we'll do another season. And then they went to all the cast, and the last person that signed on was the star, Tom Ellis. He was the last guy to sign up. But they were able to reach a deal with Tom Ellis. All the other actors had re-signed up. And then they decided last second, okay, let's do a season 6. So you got to remember, and listen, as you watch episodes or Lucifer season 5, you really do get the feeling they're wrapping the show up. This is the final season. And then, of course, they have this great ending that is obvious leads into what they're going to do next. And so they obviously had to do some changing around, but I'm very excited that we're going to get a Lucifer episode or a Lucifer season 6. Although I do actually honestly believe this will be the last one. I want them to do 15 seasons of Lucifer, but I really do believe this will be the last one. All right, next up, Greg Scott Bailey writes, let's see. John, I did it. I bought the first and only season of Awake with Jason Isaacs, and I have 2 episodes left tonight. Why did I do this to myself? It started out nicely and is now getting so good towards the latter half. I'll follow up later when I finish. Yeah, listen, first of all, I'm glad you're enjoying it, Greg. Awake is a show that stars, why am I forgetting the actor's name? The guy who plays Malfoy's dad. Guys in the live chat, what's the name of the actor who plays Malfoy? Jason Isaacs. That's what it was. I said it before any of the super chats came in. Jason Isaac. I love this guy. He was great in Discovery. He was great as Malfoy's dad. He stars in the show called Awake. I've talked about it a lot. And it got canceled after the first season, right as they had a big cliffhanger. And I've always wanted them to do another season. But listen, even though it's going to end very frustrating for you, Greg, I'm glad you're still watching it because I think you're going to, I obviously you are enjoying it, and just enjoying it for what it is its own reward. So I'm glad you're watching it, man. All right. Next up, Doug Ternovian writes, hey, John and Rob. Rob's not here today. I know this would be a long shot, but for the new James Bond, I'd love to see Tom Ellis, Lucifer himself, take on the role. He may be a bit too old for what Amazon MGM is looking for, but I still want to see Ellis play Bond, damn it. I don't know. I mean, listen, Tom Ellis is, as Lucifer, is my favorite character on TV right now. the character of Lucifer, played by Tom Ellis, is my favorite character on television right now. And honestly, he's not that old. I mean, he's still really young. He's 42. So he's still, I mean, he could play, like, how old is Daniel Craig right now? I want to say Craig's in his 50s. Hold on a second. Daniel Craig. How old is Daniel Craig right now? Daniel Craig's 53 right now. So, and he's got a great looking No Time to Die James Bond movie coming out. So you could get Tom Ellis to be the next Bond, theoretically, and he could play Bond for 10 years. And he'd still be younger than Daniel Craig is now. And I believe Daniel Craig could do a couple more. I think Daniel Craig could be Bond into his late 50s. But it is what it is. I don't know that I don't know that Tom Ellis would be the best fit for Bond, to be honest with you. I mean, listen, I like Tom Ellis. He's talented. But I've never seen Tom Ellis play anything other than Lucifer. So even though I love him in this role, I have to admit, I don't know if he's a great actor or not, because I've only ever seen him in one role. I'd have to see him in some other things to really get a good feel of, listen, is he just a great fit to play Lucifer, but he's not actually that great of an actor otherwise? Or is he truly a great actor that can bring something to any role you give him? And I just don't know the answer to that question. But I do know I love seeing him as Lucifer. I do know that. All right. Next up, let's go to Freddy's Bed, who writes, one of two. Following up on the Nightmare on Elm Street question, Freddy's Nightmares was a show in the 1990s similar to Tales from the Crypt, using Freddy as a crypt keeper type telling anthology stories. Could be cheap to produce compared to a good movie and a good way to handle the IP. The 2010 version had mixed reviews and wasn't a box office smash. No, it was not. I mean, it didn't do terrible. That with the one that starred Haley, that it didn't do terrible, but you're right. It was no box office smash. It was okay. I think that's the direction they should go, or they should get Blumhouse on board to produce. Is there a movie or show that has been dormant to you that you want Blumhouse to produce? Well, here's the thing. I don't think the Nightmare on Elm Street anthology thing works either, because there's a reason most people never heard of it, because nobody watched it. Nobody was interested in it. So I honestly don't think that would be a big success for them. Blumhouse getting their hands on things, though. I mean, my God, what they did with The Invisible Man. Oh, that movie was so good. And they made it for like pocket change. Didn't they make the Invisible Man for like $6 or $8 million? Isn't that what they made that movie for? I mean, it was so good. And Elizabeth Moss from Handmaid's Tale was great in it. It's so good. So I'm curious about any IP that Jason Blum gets his hands on to do, because he just has a way. I mean, listen, there are plenty of Blumhouse movies that are terrible. There are. But he's also got a number of really good winners. And he just seems to have this way of getting these things and making something great out of them. Some are terrible, but a lot of them are really great. And so it would be interesting to see what he would do with something like that. All right, next up. Greg Scott Bailey writes, also, after you guys talked about a Candyman the other day, I went to look up Tony Todd's acting career. Dude has over 200 plus acting credits to his name, with 16 in production, according to IMDb. He's always been a solid person in all the movies I've seen him in. Yeah, and listen, when I think of Tony Todd, I honestly, let me just bring it up here. You guys are going to laugh. Let me see if any of you guys know, what I'm going to say. When I think of a movie or a TV show with Tony Todd, my first thought goes to blank. What do you guys think it's going to be? It's not Final Destination. We had Dragnet put in, Ben writes in Zoom's voice. No, but that was really good. Doing the voice of Zoom was really good in The Flash. Not Candyman, not Star Trek, not Final Destination, not X-Men. What was he in X-Men? Not Stan. Not X-Files, probably meant X-Files. Not Star Trek Deep Space Nine, not Man from Earth, not 24. None of you guys are going to get it. It's a big movie that I love. Whenever I think of Tony Todd, and he's not a main character in it, but he's a significant role. He's got a significant role in it. When I think of Tony Todd, I think of him as the soldier in The Rock. The Rock. I love this movie. Probably my favorite Michael Bay movie is The Rock. I love this, man. I love this movie, dude. I love it so much. And Tony Todd, as the guy really pressing for them to launch the missiles, I love him in this. I love him in this. I love everybody in this movie. Of course, this is the movie where Sean Connery, in the way that only Sean Connery can say it, nobody else can say this except Sean Connery. Oh, and Kyle Arking knows exactly what I'm saying. Kyle Arking already put it in there in the live chat as your best. Sean Connery, as Nicolas Cage says, I'll do my best. And Sean Connery says, your best? Losers whine about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen. One of the greatest lines in cinematic history that only Sean Connery can say and get away with. And anyway, yeah, even though it's not his main movie, Tony Todd's, whenever I think of Tony Todd, I think of The Rock. I don't know why, but I do. All right. Next up, Aventium writes, we bought AMC at $3 and have kept it until now. So here's some money. Well, there you go. Of course, the other day, AMC. Now, Ann and I bought AMC stock at around $2 and something. Let me see where it is right now. So we bought around $2 and something. And then when it spiked to like 18, we sold it at 18 and made a huge profit. Then it went down again. And then all of a sudden the other day it spiked. Now I told you guys the other day, once it spiked to over $60 because it hit like $68, I said, now is not the time to buy. It's going to come back down, probably back to around $10. Well, during the show, it dropped from 68 on yesterday's show. It dropped from 68 to 65 to 61 all during the show. And as of right now, it has dropped another $10. As of this moment, it's dropped another $10. Right now, AMC Entertainment stock has dropped to $50.18. I am no stock analyst. I am no stock expert. I'm just saying what I would do. If I had that AMC stock right now, I'd be selling it right now. I would enjoy that sweet, sweet, huge profit and just take it because I don't think we're going to see that spike again anytime soon. But that's just me. Actually, you really should have sold it yesterday is when you should have sold it. But there's that. But still, man, if you bought it at $3, dude, if you can buy stocks at $3 and sell it at $50, that's time for popping some bottles. I hope you were able to invest like $100,000 in that. Because that's bottle popping time right there. All right, next up. Let's see. Aventium also writes, when naming the best movie presidents, I was yelling, Dave, 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 so I'm glad you brought him up. I love that movie. Everybody works on Monday. But I was also yelling, Dwayne Elizondo, Mountain Dew, Herbert Camacho. Oh, from what's the name? Idiot. No. What's the name of the movie? What's the name of the movie again where everybody's an idiot now? I can't remember. Idiocracy. Thank you. I was like, Idiocracy. That's right. President Camacho and Idiocracy. Yeah. But listen, Dave, I know a lot of you guys have still not seen Dave. It's a Kevin Kline, Sigourney Weaver movie. It's so good. It's a simple little premise, right? The president is in a coma, but the White House doesn't want the world to know that. So there's this guy out there who looks exactly like the president. And they go and get this Kevin Kline. They go and get him and say, look, you just need to fill in and pretend you're the president for a few days until the real president gets on his feet because we don't want to worry the world. And it's just wonderful. It's funny. It's charming. It's great. And my God, I love Kevin Kline. Dave, Last Vegas, A Fish Called Wanda, which is one of my top 10 all-time favorite comedies. Yeah, I mean, I love Kevin Kline. It's coming to kill me. I love Kevin Kline. That dude's awesome. All right, next up. That was Aventium. Next up, we go to Ryan G, who writes, hey, John. I think you almost forgot about these movies that could hit $1 billion this year. And they are In the Heights. I don't think there's any chance. No musical's ever made $1 billion. I don't think it will either. Snake Eyes, no chance. Snake Eyes has zero chance of making $1 billion. I don't think Snake Eyes will break 500 million. I don't even think it'll get halfway there. I mean, it might be great. And Free Guy, again, I don't think Ryan Reynolds, he is probably my favorite movie star today. Ryan Reynolds, good Canadian kid, probably my favorite movie star today. But his movies don't hit $1 billion. And Free Guy has any chance of that. So that's why I don't think any of these movies have any chance of hitting $1 billion. They could all be successes. They can all be successful. I just don't see any of them having any chance to actually making $1 billion. Anyway, these movies may have a chance to make it. Just think about it, or not. Or not for too long. You have the show to do. Well, thank you for that, Ryan. Yeah, listen, I am very excited to see Snake Eyes. I'm very excited to see Free Guy. My wife already bought our tickets for us to go see In the Heights. I really don't see any chance that any of these movies make $1 billion. I mean, maybe they do, but right now I just don't see them having, it's at least not anything that I would qualify as at least 5%. I don't think any of them have at least a 5% chance of making $1 billion, but we will see. All right, next up. Alan writes, "Hi, John. We have seen black and white photos of Borderlands characters recently. How likely do you think it is that we see real images or some footage soon? Also, stay safe and keep the lighters inside and don't burn down your house." So what Alan is referring to, let me see if I can bring this up. I can't remember where I put it. I might have put it on my Instagram. Let me go and check. So, Ann and I now have a fire pit in our backyard, and I love it. Every night I go out and I sit by my fire pit at night. I light up a fire and I bring my laptop out there, and I love my backyard because this is the first house Ann and I have ever bought, and I love my backyard. So Ann and I, so every night when I'm doing my show notes, I go outside now and do that. Well, I have one of those Trigger, candle lighters. I left it sitting out. And apparently you shouldn't do that, because we were in the house yesterday afternoon and all of a sudden we heard this big bang. We're like, what the hell was that? And what it was that I guess sitting out in the sun, this lighter heated up so much that it triggered the fuel on the inside, and the fuel expanded and bang. And it went flying all over the place. And fortunately, nothing caught fire, nothing burnt down. Everything was good. It was all great. Everything's fine. Nothing to see here. Actually, let me see if I can bring this up. I'm not sure I can, but I'm going to try. Let me see if I can do this. So yeah, that was a little startling to me. That was a bit startling to me, but I'm going to show you guys. So this is my view. I'm going to show you my view. So when I go outside and sit down at my fire pit, that's our little fire pit there. I light it up. I just lay back, relax, fire up the thing, look at the night sky. It's very cool, very enjoyable. I like it very much. Anyway, as far as Borderlands, I don't care. I really don't. It's not that I'm not looking forward to the movie. I am looking forward to the movie. Hold on a second. Let me just see here. But the release date, if I'm not mistaken, isn't until at least... What is the release date for Borderlands? I thought it was early 2022, but it might be earlier than that. Do any of you guys know when the actual release date for Borderlands is? Let me see if I can bring it. Let me look it up on IMDb. Yeah, it's scheduled for a 2022 release date. Okay, so that means at minimum, we are talking, and yeah, they don't have a specific release date. Right now it's just listed as 2022. With Eli Roth directing. So minimum, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. Minimum, the movie is still 7 months away. So there's no reason to start any kind of marketing campaign yet. It's way too far away. So I wouldn't expect, I mean, anything can happen, but I wouldn't expect anything from it for until at least September or October. I'd say at the earliest. And by the way, for all we know, Borderlands, it just says 2022. They might set a release date for August of 2022, in which case we're probably not going to see any trailers for like 10 months from now. So just be patient. Just be patient. Time will come. The time will come. All right. Last question we're going to do today, guys, because I have a meeting I have to go to that I can't miss out on. So this is the last one we're going to do today. This one comes to us from Ryan G, who writes, "Hey, John. I watched Veronica Mars episode 1 and it's really good. Did you ever watch the show? What are your thoughts?" Never watched Veronica Mars. Never did. I've got a buddy of mine. You guys remember back in my movie blog days, my buddy Rodney, who also appeared in some of the early versions of Jedi Council. I think my buddy Rodney popped in because he's a big Star Wars guy too. Anyway, my buddy Rodney loved Veronica Mars. Talked about it all the time. I remember when I was at AMC, we did the exclusive live stream red carpet of the Veronica Mars movie that they did later on. And we did the exclusive. I didn't go myself. I sent some of my staff because I don't care about that shit. But I sent a bunch of my staff to go cover it because it was in New York too. I think we sent people to New York to cover it. But I never did watch it. Not because I think it looks bad. I don't think it looks bad. But it just didn't look like it was for me, so I never did bother watching it. I think at some point I need to sit down and watch it. By the way, you know what I'm watching right now? I finally started watching Warrior. And I got through the first season and a half in like 2 days. I am loving Warrior, the one that's on HBO now. I am loving this show. So I'm about halfway through season 2. So I'll finish it off and then really look forward to when they do season 3. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, but Warrior is awesome. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Special thank you to all you guys who sent in these live comments and questions because number one, you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved here with the show, thank you guys very, very much for that support. We appreciate it an awful lot. Now listen, guys, there are still a bunch more questions to go from Aventium, Jason and Prescott, the Sock, Vogue, and many others. We do have a bunch here. So I am going to do a companion video tomorrow. That'll be Saturday. I'm going to do a companion video and we will get through all of the multiple questions that we still have to get through. You guys sent in those questions. I'm not going to make you wait to hear them answered. We'll get to them tomorrow in a very expedient manner. So guys, that'll do it for me for now. Thanks a lot for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.